So we'll tell you a bit about ourselves first, and then we'll go into why and what REACH does. So we'll start with hearing a bit about Luke's story. So this is Luke, everyone.
Okay, so my story is quite funny. So how it started is to do with fried chicken. So if we take a step back about 15 years ago, I was brought up in East London. And back in the day in year 7, what we tried to do to get a bit of extra pocket money was buy some chocolate bars from the local shop and sell them for more expensive in the playground. So we'd go around at breaks and try and get a bit of money. And at that time, I was a big lover of fried chicken and chips. So 99p, you'd go to the shop after school, and you'd get that. And I'd often get shouted at by my mum because I could never be able to eat dinner because I'd eaten food before I'd got home. And there was one day in particular where I'd gone to get served, and a group of 4 older men came towards me and asked for some money. And obviously I turned around and said no, and it caused a bit of rigmarole. There was shouting, and I decided to run out the door. They actually decided to chase after me, and that's the first time I've ever felt really panicked. I was sweating, my heart rate was going up and down, I felt really clammy, and I ran straight towards, luckily there was a bus that was coming, so I ran straight onto the bus, thinking that, they weren't going to catch me. They then proceeded to get on some bicycles, and actually cycled my whole journey home back to where I got off the bus. So as you can imagine, I'm sat on the top deck of this bus and I can see these Granny youths shouting at me. I couldn't get through to my mum, couldn't get through to my dad. I got off the bus at my stop and ran home. Now I didn't want to tell my parents about this because I felt quite embarrassed, to be honest. I didn't just stand up to them, I ran away. And looking back at it now, when I was sat in my room and locked away, I was having a panic attack, and I'd never felt something like that before. And I didn't want to go to school anymore. So every day after that, they would be there waiting for me. I'd have to run straight away. Sometimes I'd sell some more chocolate bars to try and get a taxi home, just to avoid them. And that went on for about 2 months. Now there was one day where I was going to go speak to my mum about it. And I actually came home. And during that day, my mum had found out that my dad had been having an affair for about 7 or 8 years. And that day she proceeded to try and take her own life. So I built up this courage, in the drive home, to tell her, Mum, there's people that are constantly after me. And I couldn't then, because my mum was, trying to take her own life. And after that, my kind of anxiety started then, because I was too afraid to go to school. I was too afraid to come home in case my mum tried to do something silly again. And it was an awful feeling every day where my grades started to drop. I'd have to lock myself away in the cubicle. Just my whole thought pattern had just completely been destroyed, and it was something that I'd never felt before. Luckily my mum kind of got herself back on her feet, and we decided to move here around about year 14, so that was about 13 years ago. And there were still spites of panic, and there was still stuff that I didn't really understand, because I never really wanted to speak about it, or never felt like I wanted to speak about it, especially with coming to the island so new. I didn't want to express my feelings to new friends, or them to think I was weird, or them to think I was any normal to anyone else. So time kind of passed, and I got to about 24, 25, and I've worked in Lloyd's Bank since I was 18, so I had quite a good career and got a few promotions. And a couple of years ago we had a kind of restructure, so they got rid of quite a lot of people. But as you know, the work still remained, and actually the work became more. And for the second time then, I started to feel quite anxious again. And I'm not the type of person to say no, so if my manager said to me, can you do this, I'd say yes, and my work would pile up. I'd do my 9 to 5, go home 5:30, I'd be logged on my laptop working through to 11, 11:30, just to make sure my boss was happy. And every day that passed, that was making me worse and worse. So I'd go on holiday for 2 weeks, I'd make sure I'd be checking my emails constantly. The day before I went back to work, I would just panic. What's gone wrong? Have I still got a job? The weirdest questions came into my mind, like, my boss is going to call me over, even when I went back into work, and she said, can I have a word with you? And it would be nothing to do with, it would be actually quite good news, but the panic I'd put myself through, I'd often have to go towards the side and calm myself down, because that's just how I was at that time. And probably after a 3-4 month period, there was one day where I physically had a panic attack at my desk, and I had to take myself off to the toilet within the office, and I was there for a good 20-25 minutes, and my boss at the time thought something was up, so she actually proceeded to come into the cubicle. Now, with this certain panic attack, I fainted, and I was on the floor then, and she said to me, "Luke, I think you're suffering with anxiety. I don't know what's happened, but I really think you need to sort something out." And kind of after that, your brain kind of goes, well, no, I don't suffer with anxiety. That wouldn't happen to me. It wouldn't happen to me. I've heard stories about it. That's not me at all. And that proceeded for about another couple of weeks when I saw my doctor. And I got put on medication then, and probably for the next 2 weeks I suffered really bad symptoms from it. So I was waking up all my hours of the night in temperature. I was imagining things, and it was awful. So I had to completely stop taking the medication at all. And what I started doing then is some mindfulness. So through the bank, they gave us free access to podcasts and mindfulness in the morning, where someone would speak to me 8 in the morning before I went to work. And that kind of taught me how to deal with these attacks. And I would still have them, and now I'm able to go through that. I still have them, not often, but when I have them, I know how to deal with them. And I'll never forget, my doctor said to me, there's always a moment when you're suffering with mental health, when there's a point where you ask that you have to do something about it. So probably about a couple of years ago, someone contacted me at work and said, would you write a story? So when you log in at work at the bank, the first page is all the top stories of colleagues. Would you write a story about your mental health to the 75,000 colleagues we've got across the world? And at that time I thought, are you joking me? I'm not doing that at all. But then I thought, do you know what, this might actually be my break to, tell people how I'm feeling without having to speak to them and say, this is how I'm feeling. So I did it, and I specifically said, right, I'll take my lunch at 9 o'clock and I'll go in at 10 to allow people to read it, and then nothing. And I came into the office that day at 10 a.m. and everyone came over to me and gave me a massive hug. The whole office gave me a hug. And honestly, I've never felt something like it. Everything from here down just felt numb, and I felt like me again. And they knew exactly how to feel. And when I was feeling anxious from then on in, my boss would let me go home and work or take some time out. And from then, I've just seen a different light. So since then, I've been doing lots of stuff. Even talking in front of people. I remember when the first company called me and said, would you come and speak in front of 500 people in London and tell them your story? You're automatically like, no, that's not happening. And then when I did it, the amount of feedback that I had, and there were 2 people that came up to me and said, I want to speak up about how I'm feeling now, and that feeling was amazing. And since then I've been able to speak up more. I've been able to talk to people about how I'm feeling, and it's been great. So that's my story in a nutshell.
And obviously you forgot to say that he's won awards for doing this. You kept that one out. Yeah. Good work. So my story's not about fried chicken or anything like that. So mine's a bit strange compared. So my background is in football over here. Very much involved in football, always have been. My family always have been. So I've always been quite sporty. I've always been quite athletic, I'd say. My job, when I was working at B&B, my job, I was lifting all day anyway, so I had to stay fit constantly. I was in the gym and stuff like that. Everything was going well, work-wise. My little boy Grayson was doing great in school and football. Money wasn't a problem, anything like that. I had no issues at the time. And I woke up one morning a bit like flu-y, like I had flu symptoms. Just felt really groggy. And I went to the gym that morning, 6 o'clock. Obviously no one likes getting up in the morning, so everyone's groggy at that time of the day. But I've been doing this for months, so I was very used to it at the time. And I got into the gym, and I remember trying to deadlift, and I was like, I had literally nothing in my muscles or anything. Like I had no energy. I thought obviously maybe I've just not eaten, maybe I've not drank enough water, I don't know. But I didn't do anything in the gym that day. I decided to just give it a miss, get a shower, head to work. Obviously, work being work, lifting all day, it's pretty much like going to the gym anyway. I went in there and tried to sort of crack on with the day, tried to do as much as I could. I just felt really, it was the strangest feeling. I didn't feel like I was in work. I felt like I was in a different place, like mentally. I ended up falling asleep at lunchtime on the couch at work, which I've never done. Obviously got severely laughed at for doing so. Pictures all around the place of me asleep on the couch. But I knew then that something wasn't right. Maybe I must have man flu, as everyone says. So I remember getting through the afternoon on Lucozade and coffee, and I just got to the point where I was I'm going home. I don't feel right at all. That day I was picking my little boy up from school in Laxey, so I went and grabbed him. I finished early so I could go and grab him, and I was staying at my mum's at the time. Just recently moved out of my apartment. So I got in and I said to him, look, go upstairs and you can go upstairs and play for a bit while I get a bath. I used to get a bath every night, literally every single night without fail, just to relax really. And then I get a shower afterwards. It was, I had a weird little routine after work. I remember getting in the bath, loving life, obviously, as you do in a bath. I remember like getting up out of the bath, when you get up too fast and it's too hot and you feel all like I'm going to pass out. So I stepped out of the bath and next minute my ears just completely went, couldn't hear anything, just had this deafening ring. I noticed I started to sweat. I was like, what's going on? And then my heart rate just went through the roof. I think they call it tachycardic or something like that, where it's just too fast. At that point I ran downstairs and thought I need to sit down quick, I'm going to pass out. And I lay down and I went into like a fit state, couldn't control any of my body. I completely thought I was having a fit. Couldn't open my mouth, couldn't move my arms, tried to shout, couldn't shout. And luckily my mum came downstairs and found me on the couch and called an ambulance as soon as she saw me, thinking I was having a heart attack. Everything was white from my fingers to my toes, everything. Grayson was in the house at the time, so that's the part that stuck with me the most, is the fact I remember my mum rang an ambulance and they came in, and ambulance staff are very calm, they keep you really calm. But my mum obviously wasn't calm at the time, so she was asking every question under the sun, which I didn't want to know the answer to at the time. They hooked me up to everything, my heart, checked my sugar levels and stuff, and they suspected my heart because it was the rhythm was way too fast. I remember Grayson coming down the stairs and seeing me like that, hooked up to everything, and that's the part that stuck with me still now. I still see it so clearly that he was there. And do you know what? He's 7 and he didn't freak out or anything. He just understood it, that I needed to, urgently go to the hospital. So he followed with my mum in the car, and I remember getting to the hospital and lying in the bed in resource. We've got doctors and nurses around you, not knowing what is going on, literally thinking it might be the last time I see Grayson, because I thought I was going to die completely. I lay there for probably half an hour. They were just taking bloods everywhere, just doing everything they could to stabilise my heart rate and my blood pressure. And once it dropped, I remember it went really quiet and there was no one else in the room, just me. And this one doctor walks back in and says, "Everything's fine." My reaction was, that can't be true. Obviously, I've literally just nearly died. And he says, "You've had a panic attack." I questioned it and said, "What? I've never panicked about anything over the past year. Why am I getting a panic attack?" And he says, "Well, I'm not really sure. You're going to have to go and see your GP on Monday." This was Friday night. So I begged him not to let me out of hospital. Just said, "Keep me in. Like, I don't want to go home. I don't want that to happen again when there's no medical staff there." So he said, "Well, we need the beds and stuff, so you're all right now. Your blood pressure's dropped and stuff." So I went home. About 2 hours afterwards, sat down on the couch that I just had a panic attack on, and had another panic attack straight away. I don't know why. I have no idea why. But it was for about 6 months, I was having them daily, probably. And I don't know if anyone's had a panic attack in here. It really debilitates you. Like the adrenaline that goes through your body, you can't get up, you can't do anything. It just zaps all the energy that you've had. So I went to see the GP, who I've had since I was a kid, and he was, I've trusted him since I was a kid, and he said to me, yeah, you've got panic disorder and anxiety. Obviously, I questioned him because I've never been anxious in my life, never had a panic attack in my life. And he actually said to me, these are his words, he said, I'm not trained enough in mental health to be able to give you any more of an insight in that. So he said, I can offer you citalopram, which is an antidepressant, to try and get yourself feeling a bit better. Obviously, being a football player, last thing I wanted to do was take tablets. I was quite fit at the time. I thought antidepressants were just going to shut me down completely, give me no emotion or anything. So I said no. And he said, I can put you on the list to see a specialist. And he said it'd take 12 months for me to be seen. And I was like, wow. I had no life for 6 months and I didn't know where else to go. And they couldn't even help me when I did go there. So I spent the next 6 months getting into this depression, complete depression, not getting up out of bed. I remember sitting one day watching TV for 6.5 hours, not moving, didn't go to the toilet, didn't shower, didn't eat, did not move out of the same position. Couldn't bring myself to go downstairs to go to the car, was too nervous to leave the house. Couldn't sit next to my little boy, too scared to have a panic attack in front of him. I even taught him how to ring 999 and what to say, just in case. And it brought me to the point of, I walked over to my window. I lived on the top floor. I walked over to my window and I just looked down, and I remember for the split second that I was there, I was just thinking, no one else can help me then. Is this why people commit suicide? Is this what I should do just to get rid of this pain? And I remember thinking about Grayson straight away, and it literally shocked me. So I stepped back from my window and thought, Paul, I've got way too much in Grayson to lose. I didn't want to go down that route. I felt like I could help myself. I just needed to work on it. So I got my head down and read every book I could find on it, listened to every podcast. It sort of helped me a little bit, and then I knew Luke had struggled in the past, and we knew each other through friends, and I literally just sort of asked for help, really. It's like what's going on and stuff, and just him explaining little things to me really settled me down, really calmed me down, made me believe that you can get out of it. There is things there that can help you. And I remember the cloud that was there completely debilitated me, started to lift. I started to get my reactions back, started to get that little fire inside me that I wanted to go and teach Grayson to footy again. And I thought, right, let's keep going, let's keep talking to people about it, getting out instead of keeping it in. And it's I've never seen anyone professionally still. I did it through a lot of reading, a lot of research, talking to my mates, being very open about it. So I posted my story on Facebook, and I did it because I'm 28, so I've got a big friends group in Douglas. I'm quite well known for football in sport, so I thought if I can post it and someone can relate like I relate to Luke, then we can help maybe that one person that's in the bedroom that can't get out just by relating to our story. And I put at the bottom, if anyone wants to come and chat, come around, my door's open, come and have a cup of tea. And within 2 days it had been shared around the world, literally I think it must be up to 5,000 times. I had something like 250 private messages inboxing me, asking to talk, which was incredible. So I went to Luke and we put a team together and said, well, if we can do this just from offering people a cup of tea in my house, why can't we do it as a charity and try to break the stigma and get people talking properly and build a place where it's very comfortable to come in and just talk about your story. You don't even have to, that's what I put on Facebook, why can't we do that? there's a very big gap from going to see your GP and 12 months down the line seeing somebody else. So many people can't find a way out within them 12 months. We thought, let's try and aim at that so that we can make this 12-month wait a lot easier for someone to deal with. We'd always say, obviously, go and see your GP, go and see that professional in 12 months' time, because we're not medically trained. We're literally there just to relate and tell our story and listen to your story, break the stigma on the Athlete Man. So we set REACH up, which is flying at the minute. It's gone great. Had so much response from it. Like we're actually helping people, which is brilliant. Like I never thought that it'd get to this point where we were actually making a difference in people's lives. But people are buying into it, which is great, because so many more people are talking about how they've struggled with depression or they struggle with anxiety. We're working in schools at the minute, working with kids, and that's great. Getting them talking as well, talking to their parents and stuff, so they're not keeping it in and hurting themselves, things like that. So yeah, that's enough about me and Luke. Let's talk about REACH and what our idea is. I've pretty much give you an outline of what REACH is. We're not obviously professionals. We've stated that. We're not medically trained. Sometimes it can be very scary talking to a psychologist, for the first time, when you literally haven't opened up. So, we thought we'll try and break this down and do it early, and then you can go and see the psychologist, see, you've got the wheels in motion. We're not a therapist. We don't charge you by the hour or anything like that. It'll be a free service, hopefully funded by some very nice businesses over here, hopefully. We're there to try and stop that voice that keeps telling you you can't get out of it, because we can sit here and show you that we can get out of it, and we haven't been helped professionally. We've helped each other. Well, he's helped me anyway. I'm not sure about me helping him as much. We're there to just be a friend. So we're there to be very, very much like we are being now. This is how the conversation would go. Like, very relaxed environment. We don't want to push you into doing it either. We want to be there when you feel like you're ready to talk about it, just so that there is people there, rather than bottling it up and waiting 12 months and making the wrong decision because your mind's been taken over. We all also want you to sort of reach out to your friends and stuff, so that you can help them get through it as well as helping yourself. I can tell you now, there's no better feeling that I've felt than helping somebody else. You can't buy that. There's no banks that can pay you 100 grand a year to get the feeling that I get helping people and Luke gets. You don't have to tell your story. You don't have to come in and tell your story. That's one thing that we're keen on telling people. You can literally just come and listen to my story or Luke's or whoever the volunteer may be on the day, so that you don't feel pressured, but you can get key points like I did from Luke when he was depressed and stuff or anxious. I got key things from him that made me change my mind, thinking, okay, now I believe that I've got it. So it's about getting the little points across. Everyone that's going to be involved with us, volunteers as well, are people who have struggled with it in the past, and they're speaking about it, so you won't feel pressured or judged. They've been in the situation before, if that makes sense. This one, GPs aren't always the answer. They're not, but we're going to tell you to go there anyway. Go and see your GP because you have to. Simple. We don't want to put you in any sort of danger, so go and see them anyway. But yeah, you need more training. Simple as that. They just need more training. They're great people and they do help in a lot of different ways, but they're not always the answer. Sometimes just getting it off your chest and understanding that there are other people in this situation can be a very big part of your recovery. Knowing that you're not alone, that was a big part for me. I thought straight away, if I've got anxiety and depression, I've definitely got it the worst in the world. No one's got it as worse as I have, because I couldn't leave the house, so I must have it the worst. Simple. And then I found out, I'm finding out even more now, feel like my case was nothing compared to some people that I sit down with. Like, there's so many different ways you can be depressed, and you know, so many different people in the world, they deal with depression in a lot of different ways. I shut down and didn't deal with it at all. A lot of people can go day-to-day life with dealing with it, but I tried to put a smile on my face until the point where it took over, and I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even leave the house to smile. Yeah, we just done that one. That's enough of me talking. You get bored of me in a minute.
So that's our mission statement on the screen there. So ideally what we want to do is create a room as such where it feels very much like a home environment. So, you know, it doesn't smell like, you know, the cleaning products of a hospital, or, you know, you plastic cups. You know, you come along and you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and come and sit down on a sofa and have a chat with someone that's not in uniform or not in, you know, clothes that look like something else, you know, just in a jeans and t-shirt, and come and have a chat. It can be about whatever you want. We can come and talk to you about how we've dealt with things or our story exactly, and vice versa. It's something that's very one-on-one and not group orientated. Certainly from my experience, group sessions aren't sometimes what people want, and you know, when you're at that stage where you don't want to talk to your friends about, or you don't want to talk to your family about it, you just want that one person to kind of have a two-way conversation and not come in a group and say, hi, my name's Luke and I suffer from this, or I suffer from this, can we talk about it? Because the last thing you want is, what I didn't want is 12 people in a room to know exactly how I was feeling. And in my respect as well, the Isle of Man can be quite chatty, so if you're in a group conversation, that's 12 people that can go off and tell 12,000 within, you know, the space of 20 minutes. So that's what we didn't want to create here. So what would kind of happen is you would kind of book in and come and see us in our property, and we kind of get to know you on a one-to-one personal basis, and that would be very informal. You know, no kind of paperwork, no kind of, you know, here's the rules, here's the terms and conditions. Just come and have a chat. And in that initial session, we kind of build trust with each other, you know, understand that, you know, this is not going to go any further. It's kind of here to be quite relaxed, and when you want to go, you can go. When you want to come, you can come. There's no one set hour, there's no one set 2 hours. It's, if you want 10 minutes, if you want 2 hours, you take as long as you need. We'll then show them around the premises, you know, get them more comfortable. You know, here's the toilet, here's the room where you can listen to different podcasts, etc., etc. And then we kind of encourage them to talk to us, you know, how are you feeling at the moment, is there anything on your mind? I know from experience, you know, there might be one day where I've had a really bad day at work, and someone might have really annoyed me, as it happens on a regular basis, and I just want to come and talk to someone, get that energy out, get that all out, and you walk out the door like a new person, just like sometimes people go swimming just to cool down or go to the gym. Then the individual is given a chance to speak their mind and, you know, talk about, you know, what's on their minds at the minute, what's coming up in their lives, what's playing on their mind, and, you know, where that volunteer then will kind of either share their story or give them some guidance on where they should go, point them in the direction, you know, maybe outside the charity where they might need to go. Maybe there'll be some booklets or some podcasts on the matter that we might be able to point them in the direction of. And then talking about direction, you know, there'll be stuff like free personal training that we can offer them, that, you know, we've seen that exercise is quite good. I've got a personal trainer at the moment, and that's my one time a week. Bearing in mind that's probably not enough exercise, but it's my one time a week.
When you turn up, that is.
When I turn up, one time a week where I've got that hour where I can just zone out and do a bit of exercise and, you know, really get chatting. And now my personal trainer is kind of my sounding board, so, you know, I could be sat there rowing and I might tell him how I'm feeling, and even just that's just enough for me to have that for the week. Then there'll be other booklets and stuff like that, and then we're hoping to build some podcasts by the charity, you know, just general chit-chat conversations on, you know, anxiety, depression, things that's out there that people might know about. There's hundreds of websites and YouTube videos that people just don't take time to have a look at. I know, for example, I've got a mindfulness app on my phone. Before I go to work in the morning at 8 o'clock, I speak on the 7 minutes in the electronic voice, and it just asks me to think, just hear the noises outside, and just for me to wake up slowly, and stuff like that helps you on going.
Yeah, I think on the podcast, I think it's that really helped me because it was free information that I didn't have to go to, didn't have to leave my house, didn't have to, call anyone up, put myself in any sort of anxious state. I just listened to the podcast, and the amount of information you can get from listening to one of them is incredible. So, we'll have sports people, we'll have business people, people in high places that struggle. You'll hear all of their stories and how they deal with things, so it'll give you little tips and stuff as well. So hopefully that will be in the next couple of weeks. Why is this necessary over here? Let's have a look at some stats. We didn't put the full stats up because we thought that you will probably know by now. There's 1 in 3 people struggle with a mental illness. There's 4,300 open cases on the Isle of Man at the minute, that's incredible for the services. No wonder it's gone from 9 months to 12 months to 18 months. That is only going to go one way, simple as that. It's not going to come down. They're not putting enough funding into it. It's only going to keep going up. There's only 3 child psychologists working for the Department of Education for 12,000 children. Now, that's crazy. Especially with working in schools, I think it resonates even more now because I see the amount of children that struggle with, social media things, families, little things like that, and they really can't deal with them very well, and they they need to come get off their chest and look for a little bit of guidance. So that's nowhere near enough. I'm hoping that they'll put more money into it, but it's just the government, isn't it? Sometimes they're a tough nut to crack. There's obviously a huge stigma on the Isle of Man. Such a small place. Everyone knows everyone. It's good and bad sometimes, isn't it? You don't want to be known to have a mental illness. I certainly didn't at the time anyway, especially the position that I was in. I didn't want to be judged by anyone. Private sessions, they can cost ridiculous amounts of money. To be honest, I put 150 to 300 there, but I found a lady that does it for 80, so I dropped that to 80 to £300. But yeah, I couldn't afford it at the time. I really wish I had endless amounts of money to be able to give to these people to make me better, but I didn't have the money, so I couldn't go and see them, which was a horrible thought that they were there, they could really help you, but I didn't have the funds to do it. Averagely, you can go and see your GP, but your session's going to be 5 minutes, as they probably got another 100 people that day to see. It's not their fault, they've only been given a certain amount of time with people, but 5 minutes just isn't enough. When you need to talk about what's going on in your head, I could have spoke for 5 hours if you asked me to, but it wasn't. It was 5 minutes in and out, and it just needs to be a lot more than that. I've just mentioned that the waiting list is approximately 18 months at the minute, gone from 9 when I first got diagnosed with this. It's now doubled. That's only a year down the line. This was last January I first got diagnosed, so within a year and a bit it's gone up, doubled potentially. This part here is what stands us out to different charities, I think, over here. The fact that we have been in this situation, so we're doing this off the back of experiencing these troubles. We're not doing it off the back of doing 5 years in college and getting a doctor's or anything like that in psychology. We don't, we're not going to lie to you, we haven't done that. Simple as that. We're doing it off the back of our own stories. So I think that's what sets us aside. And same with the Samaritans, they're great. The Samaritans are brilliant over here. They don't take calls from the Isle of Man. I didn't know that though. They take calls from England for some reason. Their training's great, but sometimes it's a booklet that tells them how to answer the question. And sometimes you just need that empathy, I suppose, to understand what someone's going through to help them get through it. That's where we are different, I think. Do you want to go?
So, overall impact on the Isle of Man. So, we believe we can impact the Isle of Man on a huge scale by providing a kind of safe environment, I would say, where people feel comfortable, like we spoke about previously. We hope in this kind of time frame that we're going through, that when people come talk to us, certainly from our experiences, sometimes they might not need that help after 12 to 18 months after they've seen us 5 or 6 times, because sometimes people can get over these things quite naturally through their own body. and that might see reducing kind of waiting times in cases that they've got. So at the minute we're bringing it into schools, into businesses, and hopefully we were talking about the other day about doing stuff in places like barbers and hairdressers, where people, weirdly enough, the stats are that people talk more and more to their barbers when you're getting your nails done and stuff like that. And we're not there to train them how to do things. It's just, just being able to pick up when someone maybe isn't feeling as great. And while living on the island, there's definitely still a strong judgment of, feeling judged. And we just want to be there to break the stigma and get people to talk more openly about this topic. And I love this slide because we're called REACH. I was like, we can do this. I love it. My favourite slide. It's not my arm though, promise you. So at the minute, so we've set up the charity, and we're looking at setting up a premises, and then kind of next month we're doing a big launch evening at microgaming offices to kind of show everyone what we're going to do. And then next year we're looking at creating kind of programs for schools and businesses that we'll bring out to them to kind of touch that topic and get them to talk more openly about it. And then ongoing, the aim is to kind of smash the stigma on the island, and hopefully we'll get there eventually, and it will happen across the world. But that's kind of us in essence, and we're open for any questions unless anyone's got any.
Can I just ask where that came from, that 12 months to 18 month waiting list to see a professional? Is that adults, children?
Yeah, adult. Adult, yeah.
And so who would that professional be? That's not the experience that I've had, that's all.
Oh, yeah, well, the NHS, you mean?
Yeah. So
yeah. I think I'm still currently on a waiting list, and this was from last January, and I still haven't been seen. Not that I need to be now.
No,
but, yeah.
I don't know if you link in with any of the mental health services, like the community wellbeing service.
Literally, we've just been to see them about the self-referral and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just been to see them. My doctor, for some reason, didn't let me know about anything like that.
Yeah.
So they've just set up Quell and Couth.
Yes.
Well, they haven't set it up. I think they've bought into it. Yeah.
So there's lots of online stuff.
It's great.
And that's fabulous. And also, they screen people fairly quickly, and for access to counselling and kind of that therapy for anxiety and depression, it's nowhere near 12 to 18 months. People are seeing much quicker than that. Not quick enough.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, 100%.
But certainly, 18 months would be for specialists in psychology, what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what the GP informed me. I mean, we've been working with a guy who had a bit of a wobble about 4 weeks ago. He got found in the end by the police, and got shown what he needed to do to self-refer and stuff. And he called me yesterday, and he still hasn't been seen. And he's very vulnerable at the moment. It's a case of like, let's do it now rather than later.
Yeah.
And I know you can't always, we can't always rely on the NHS to be there all the time, because they're so under pressure with things, and funding isn't there. I understand with the community health though, definitely, and we are.
Getting there.
Yeah, it is.
And working with something like you've got going would be fabulous, wouldn't it? To do a bit more kind of joined up stuff.
We're trying to push Couth and Quell for them, definitely, because it's a you can talk to somebody sort of straight away when they're online. That's fantastic. Yeah, the stats. Okay, that stat was from sort of what we've learned from. We have government members on our board, and that's sort of what we've learned.
It could take that long though, because
absolutely.
I've been referred in the past, and I got a phone call asking me 20 questions on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, today could be 10, tomorrow could be 2.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
It's a bit of a tick box exercise, so it depends how honest you are and everything with it. And if you're not, and you're not in a good place, and you just don't know what to do, and you don't know how to answer the questions, it could take that long. It took me 9 months, and they said that I was quite highly vulnerable with depression. So 9 months was a very long time to wait.
Yeah. Well, going back to my personal experience, I felt like I was very much in a high, like I was in a high category at the time. My life was debilitated. I didn't work for 8 months because I couldn't get myself out of bed. So I needed to be seen when I went to my GP the first time, or even when I went into hospital the first time. I needed more information. I needed more help off them. I didn't get it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bad-mouthing the NHS at all, because they do a great job. They are brilliant. They're always there for you when you need them. It's just, I know I needed a lot more, and I know a lot of people need a lot more that they aren't getting. And that's where maybe we can help, in a sense of, we can point you in the directions of third sector things like ourselves, like, Quing, like your breathing techniques, Wim Hof kind of thing, your mindfulness sessions. All these things can really help with mental health. But I never knew any of this when I was struggling. I got to the point where I could have taken my own life because I had nowhere else to go. And it really pains me that, obviously, the past few months on the Isle of Man, it's been quite well known that people have gone and done that type of thing, and they've cried for help, a couple of them, and the help hasn't been there due to one reason or another. One of them was alcohol at the time. He wasn't allowed to be seen because he was under the influence of alcohol through the crisis team. I was very shocked by that, because to pick up the phone and ring a crisis team, the person had tried to take their own life numerous times before, for that not to be acted on, and then 5 hours later for him to be found gone, is something that needs to change. And hopefully, us being the age that we are, really could help that, because we can maybe hit the market of the younger people that are really struggling, as well as obviously any age, to be honest. It really doesn't matter. I spoke to a 75-year-old woman on the phone from Morocco. She seen my post online. It's great to talk to her. Like, we spoke for half an hour, but I was like, I hope this isn't charging my phone. Morocco's a long way away. Yeah, we speak to anyone, and like I say, I'm really not trying to badmouth the NHS or anything like that. And everyone's had different experiences. I just know my personal experience wasn't great. But I've worked with the community health recently, and they've informed me of things that they can do to help with us, and yeah, they've been great.
And it would be great to link in.
100%, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, realistically, what we want to do in the future, this is the now plan. Obviously, we have to get up and running and stuff first, but we want to be able to fund a psychologist ourselves for people. So if you come in and you're in that desperate state that I was in, and I can't afford to pay £80 to £300 an hour, then we can fundraise and we can fund that for you, so that we can get you the help you need there and then. Hopefully, anyway. But we just have to see how it goes, I suppose. Anyone else got any questions? Hello?
Well, not a question so much. When you're addressing the stigma surrounding mental health, one of the things I found, because I've had clinical depression since I was a teenager, so I have good and bad periods.
Yeah.
When I was returning to work a couple of years ago, after being off work for a long time, the advice I got from the job centre and a couple of employment agents in the Isle of Man was, don't mention don't talk about it, don't mention it, don't say anything.
Oh God.
And I found that really difficult to go to interviews, talk to potential employers, and not mention this huge thing that was a part of my life, because I was scared I wouldn't get a fair hearing, I suppose, get a fair interview. As it turns out, the job I have now is great, and I was upfront with them, because it just went against the grain not to say it, but just for people, and it was the job centre, and so government and also private industry saying don't talk about it, and that's in the last 2 years. I found that incredibly
So degrading.
difficult.
And I think that's what kind of work we want to do with businesses. Like, I've just been successful in a new job actually, and one of the things that was on the application was, do you suffer from any mental health? So I ticked yes.
Yeah.
Actually, what they did when I was successful, they said, well, as you're coming to us, here's the services we've got for you as an employee. If you need anything, give us. Which I know is not going to be in every business, but I was really happy to see that.
No, there's a lot of businesses now have a lot of wellbeing programs,
which is fab. So
yeah.
I'm really happy about that.
We'll do our best to bang on every door and, shut it down completely. Like we will do, of course. I think we'll get there. with businesses anyway, because you're starting to see a change. We've just recently been doing a couple of talks for a construction firm, and you know, when you think of construction, you think of big hardened men that don't talk about their feelings, drink coffee all day and go home and drink beer. That's what you think, but even construction workers struggle on the inside. And we, like you say, if they're coming to us and asking us to do little talks, then it just shows that it is starting to change, because that's the last place that I thought would want us to do a talk, if I'm honest. The fire service have asked us to go and do a talk, which is great. There's a team in the police that want us to work with them, with the younger people, which is also fantastic. We'll do as much as we possibly can, but the main aim is to get people talking early before they don't see the light at the end. And no, I think we can do it. I think we'll get there. I think we'll get there with raising awareness anyway. As long as everyone gets on board in chats. Like, I walk through town now and I don't get asked about football. I don't even get asked about myself. People say, do you know, I used to struggle with anxiety and depression, but how good's that? I can walk through town and people are openly talking about it. Do you know what I mean?
It's the fear of opening up.
Yeah, completely.
A lot of people have the fear of actually telling other people what they're going through.
Yeah.
So to break that fear, we have to. How can anyone help you if you're not willing to open up about it?
Exactly. But you see other people doing it. It makes you feel a lot more comfortable. Like you say, going into a new job makes you a lot more comfortable to then say, I've struggled in the past, yeah, I have.
To relate with it.
Yeah. If you broke your leg and they ask you, have you ever broken a bone?
Insane.
And you say, yeah, well, yeah, you're not gonna shy away from saying you broke your leg before, and you have to realise that the brain is a part of your body and it's not well, and it needs help. Simple, like a broken bone or like a pulled muscle. What's wrong with talking about one thing and not the other thing?
But and that it can heal, you know.
Of course, yeah. It's known to heal.
Just because you have had an issue at some point, it doesn't, you know, broken your leg, you can no longer work for a bank. It's a strange notion, isn't it? Because the leg can heal.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Super.
Big one.
Can I make a point or an observation? Because I think my name's Joff, I work for the Children's Centre. I'm quite new, but we're part of this equation. You know, the Children's Centre in terms of the work that we do. One of the things I think that you two have been doing, which is incredible and totally to your credit, is you've got the third sector and the government and the authorities talking with each other. And you point about the point of this is to get young people or adults or those who don't normally discuss ideas and issues around mental health. By doing your work, you've been encouraging the third sector to start talking more openly about strategies and approaches and relationships. And I think that's just completely commendable. I don't know if you're both aware of that or know that, but it's amazing how it does. Just two ambitious, driven younger people working at something, wanting to discuss something. It unlocks doors and it opens people's eyes, and so all power to you.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you very much. Little leaflets. They're not booklets that we haven't got a budget yet. so I printed these off this morning. They've got all our contact details on, so please take them away with you and hand them around your family or whatever. If you've got children or friends, family that are struggling and aren't talking, you know, just come and talk to us. We're not going to bite.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.